Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Area Public Schools Trust. First order of business is to approve the minutes of the July 13, 2010 special meeting of the Metropolitan Area Public Schools Trust. I'd recognize a motion for that.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Yes, ma'am. We have a couple of applications for funding. First one is to approve the application of funding for Midwest City, Dell City Public School District carpet replacement, Parkview Elementary School.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do actually have two applications from Mid-Dell. First one is for $5,420. It is carpet at Parkview. The second is $51,790. Drainage improvements at Eastside Elementary School. We do have Pam Twidwell here from that district to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions? Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Cast your vote. Next item, approve application of funding for Western Heights Public School District purchase of 3 school buses to be utilized throughout the district, $224,106.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have Pete Parker here to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Next item is receive the proposed capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2010-11 to fiscal year 2014-15.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The city periodically reviews its 5-year capital plan, and included in your packet today is a copy of that plan as it's being recommended to City Council. We've been asked to bring those before the various trusts, and so included is the trust 5-year plan. The document is a standard format that's utilized throughout the city. One of the things that I may call to your attention is that as a part of the 5-year plan, you'll see the final 2 years we are showing a zero capital item in those because we are expecting that the program be finished in the year 2012 or fiscal year 13. The total plan includes $205 million for construction, $18.8 million for technology, and $20.8 million for suburban districts. And at this point, with your approval, it will be sent to City Council in September.
Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'd recognize a motion to receive the 5-year capital improvement plan.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Next item, we are being asked to approve the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Area Public Schools Trust Revenue and Obligation Report for May of 2010.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have the detailed reports attached. It includes a little over $2 million in interest earnings. There's about $197 million that's available for ID9 projects, which include both construction and technology. $17.8 million that's available for suburban district applications. Again, can answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, I'd ask for a motion to approve this report.
Move approval.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Next, we're being asked to ratify the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Area Public Schools Trust payments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are 74 sales tax payments for the period of June 9th through July 7th, 2010. There's also 7 bond payments included in the report. The details are attached.
Questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to ratify the payments?
So moved.
Been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Next item is we're being asked to approve an amended program implementation plan, July 2010.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the 9th amendment being proposed for the program implementation plan that we originally established in 2002. It includes 3 major categories of changes, and the first is construction budgets, and this would include a series of projects including Linwood, Parks, Southern Hills, Southeast, Capitol Hill, and class and SAS schools, as each of those projects, all except for Parks, did go over their anticipated budgets, and so we're making those corrections in this plan. The second category is a correction to Stand-Wetty. It had an incorrect student population total. The third is the removal of Dunbar Elementary, also the alternative schools projects from the plan. And then the last one is actually a reassignment of Emerson from the bond to the sales tax, and those are in accordance with some of our previous discussions and also the project requirements that we previously approved for those projects. There is a net add, and so we will be using about $3.5 million of our program contingency fund to take care of these changes, but it still leaves us about $17.6 million in reserves. We are recommending approval.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, Eric, do you happen to remember what did the contingency reserve start out being, kind of the budget?
Yeah, we had seen reserves in the mid-$30 million range before we made some of the corrections as a part of the 2005 demographic studies. You might recall we added some schools at that time that used a significant portion of those reserves. And then over time, that has reduced through just various changes and adds that we've incorporated on different projects.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I know we talked about the need for additional dollars for some of the older schools as we go forward. Do we think that the $17 million here in reserve is going to adequately address the...
We do believe that it will, yes.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'd ask for a motion to approve this amendment.
I'll make the motion.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. We're now moving into project requirements. First is to approve project requirements for project ES35, the downtown elementary school.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We actually had this item included on our last agenda and deferred it until today. The school board did meet on this item and did approve following a presentation that was given by Carl Springer, which included some of the plans and opportunities that the school may offer, at least on the educational aspects. The document that we're presenting today still follows the format that we have used in the past. It is a 500-student school that's being proposed, and we do have Gary Clark here from ADG to make that presentation, and of course we can answer questions following.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Here to present the project requirements for the downtown elementary school. This presentation is slightly different than what you normally see. Is there's not a site for this project. It's a bubble diagram or adjacencies are what we've actually shown. But the facility is designed for the 500 capacity pre-K through 6 elementary. It follows the standard program. 53,613 square feet. It's going to be located somewhere downtown Oklahoma City. The site selection is actually part of the A&E contract. The difference, or one of the differences on this, is it does include 2, I believe, all-day pre-kindergarten classrooms. Typically, I think there's only 1 pre-K room. What you see here are the spatial relationships required by the program. Classrooms with central work offices, storage. Media services, the library with the reading circulation room. Again, it just follows the standard elementary school program. Therapists, psychologists, OTPT, speech therapy, as well as the faculty spaces. Does include a kiln and the music and art. Total construction budget is $6,695,744. We've included land acquisition cost of $500,000. Site selection would begin August 2010. Design from August 2010 to December 2011. Construction 2012 to April 2013, with occupancy in the fall of 2013. If you have any questions.
This does follow the same architectural standards and educational standards as the other schools throughout the district.
Yes, sir. It follows the pre-K through 6th grade elementary design standards. The only exception, I believe, is the addition of an additional pre-K, all-day pre-K room.
I see.
Can anybody detail how we're going to come up with a site? What's the process for determining the site and picking one?
You might recall we've actually gone through some informal site studies with the district over the past several years. We've just not had anything that's come to designate one particular site for acquisition. We intend to utilize the architect as a part of that process going forward, and so we will use some of the existing site analysis. There are still some of those sites that were studied in years past that are still vacant. We anticipate also identifying any new sites that will be available. General process will be have the architect to more or less chair that and identify through drawings and through aerials some sites. We intend to incorporate some of you as members of the trust and the school board on a committee of sorts to help evaluate those as we prepare a final recommendation to come back more or less before we start the schematic design services and have a site selected. We'll actually include that as an early task of the contract. It will be different in that regard to any of the other architectural contracts that we've had. And we believe that the use of the architect will also help us analyze sites for drainage issues, site utility, availability, and some of those other functions as we try to decide one over another.
Other questions?
What's the minimum size of a site for this school?
You know, if you follow the state standards for an elementary school, it will say that you need 20 acres for an elementary school, and obviously we're not going to find that in downtown Oklahoma City. And so we've looked at some sites as little as 2 to 2.5 acres, but I really think it's just going to depend on the site. Obviously, the smaller the site, based on the square footage, the taller the building will become. We're going to have to look at things like visitor parking and drop-off and some other requirements of the project, and so it's just going to depend somewhat, but we've seen them as small as 2 acres. I would expect that we could hopefully find something slightly larger than that.
Other questions? Seeing none, I'd ask for a motion to approve these project requirements.
Move approval.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second?
Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Next item is to approve the project requirements for Project ES 36, the Administration Building.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The school board also considered this item last evening and approved it as well. Different than one of the school's projects in that there is not a design standard or an educational specification to follow. ADG spent quite a bit of time with district staff identifying their needs, identifying the total space that was required, and again, we do have Gary Clark to make this presentation and answer any questions that you might have.
It's a very similar presentation in that we don't have an actual floor plan. We do have adjacency diagrams that we came up with meeting with the staff. The site selection is pending. Again, that would be a part of the A&E contract to do that selection. 17 departments. Square footage is 81,500 square feet, and we do show, again, the departmental adjacencies here. The primary areas are shown on this slide with administration, tech, education, student services, support services, human resources, and IT. We do indicate the spatial relationships of the areas as we're going through the administration area and the spaces required through our meetings. If you have any questions. Student services with special services, language and cultural services, alternative education, health, information technology, research, human resources, support, shipping, receiving, the mailroom, general storage, custodial, break area. Total construction budget is $3,317,350. Site selection would begin August of 2010 to December 2010. Design would begin September 2010 to August 2011, with construction beginning in September 2011 and occupancy the summer of 2013. Any questions or comments?
Question?
I do have a question about the project scope. Reading this, it says it may include remodel, new, or combination of both. This is a little different than what we either see, new or remodel. Are we charging the architect to put the best set of criteria together for the trust?
So if I might add a little bit more information, obviously when this project was conceived, it was conceived as a remodel project and not necessarily new construction. And so the budget is sufficient for a remodel of an existing building. I would say that the building that they're currently located in at 900 North Klein is definitely one available option, but there could be others. Other options, I'm not sure of those at this point, but again, we would like to engage that architect to help us identify with district also any other available facilities. as a part of some of the site study and work that we had done in the past, I just want you to recall that they had also looked at combined facilities, that being combining the administration with the elementary school downtown, and that was discussed last evening again. It is something that is probably going to merit some additional discussion, and I think we'll work through that as we proceed. But again, I would say we have a lot less information on the administration building than we probably have on any of the other projects. It is the last project in the Maps for Kids program to be undertaken, and we really left it there for that purpose. It has just a lot of unanswered questions, and we'll work very closely with the district to figure those out.
Are there any other questions? I would recognize a motion to approve these project requirements.
So moved.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Next item, we are being asked to approve the schematic design report for project ES62 Hayes Elementary School.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're pleased to present this today. We do have Mike Tower here with LWPB to make that presentation and answer your questions.
It's good to be back here again. We are real pleased to be able to do this presentation on the schematic report, and I'll make sure I know. It's going to be very similar to what you've seen on most of the elementary schools. It's going to be in addition to an existing school. It's a two-story existing school that needs an elevator. It's one of the components that will be added. We are following up on the site and facilities assessments that were made, and we're pleased to present the concepts for the schematic report. The existing school is actually a little bit larger than what is planned right now, but that has been the case with some of the schools. It's going to be a 371-student school, pre-K through 6. There's $1.8 million that is going to the building improvements that were identified in the site and facilities assessment that we have gone through and reviewed. There is $2.1 million that was set aside for the 14,000 square foot addition. The total square footage for the building at the end of this will be about 48,000 square feet. Of that, the majority of the construction for the new, with the schematic design, is 4 new classrooms, new media center and computer lab, and new administrative area. As with most of the elementary schools, those seem to be the areas that are lacking in the older designs. We have gone through, as I mentioned, and looked at the site and facilities assessment, and one of the things that we have recognized is that there were some of the things that were either unnecessary or that we could accomplish a little bit more. And that I'll show you a little bit more about that with the budget. But as part of this, one of the things in analyzing the various schools, we deal with the code implications, and we have made some recommendations as far as code improvements, most notably installing a fire suppression system in the existing school, and it addresses some of the needs that were identified through the code analysis. But as you have seen in many of the schools, new fencing, new gates, new playground equipment. We will be replacing the windows, upgrading the doors, and replacing ones that are inadequate. Some kitchen work and probable replacement of the kitchen serving line, bringing the building up to where it has ADA toilets, and and hardware as well. One of the things that we came to realize is, and we'll show you this in the site plan in just a minute, is that the present entry is on the west side, but it is typical of many of the older schools where it is not identifiable and set back from the drop-off points, and the site circulation became an important driver for the design concepts on this. The administration area did not have very good control over the entry. It was inadequate in size. The media center needed to be expanded in adding computer lab. All of these things set us to the course that we went with our design. If north is up on this plan, and if you look to the west side, there's just a little bump out, and that is the current entry. And what we realized that there is site circulation, that you had student drop-off and pick-up on the west side, but you had parking for the staff on both the north and the south. And so in talking to the principal and looking at it, we decided that the natural course would be to do a one-story addition to the east and reorient the administration area to a new drop-off area on the south side. And that way, they had better control of the school, they had better control of the site circulation, and we could also connect the different staff parking lots. The other additional thing that this will allow are for future additions of both the gymnasium on the north side as well as additional classrooms that would naturally flow to the east. And this is the first floor. And the administration area is in that area that has designations of teacher's lounge and 2 special needs classrooms. We have pulled in one of the self-contained classrooms so that we could put a health changing area in an area that's a little bit more segregated so that there's not, they have an autism students, and so we wanted to make sure that there wasn't a lot of noise and activity that would disturb them. As you can see, we've got the administration area and media center right there off the main entry. It is set up so that we could have activities in the media center and computer lab after hours without interrupting the other schools, the other school activities or after-hour functions. Both of the new classrooms in the music art are off to the east and allow for expansion. Second floor, there really were not any real modifications with the exception of adding an elevator. Here we have 2 images from two perspectives from different angles. The darker area is the existing school, and the lighter area is just preliminary ideas of what the final design will look like. As I mentioned in the budget, we had $3.8 million, a little over $3.8 million to accomplish the work. We figured out that we can accomplish the goals and the addition with approximately $3.4 million. We have then taken a look to see what we could do as far as the other thing that was in very bad shape that we identified that needed to be improved that was not in the site and facilities assessment was a new roof. So those items are listed down below, and we believe that we can get those within the $3.8 million. Schedule. From here, we are scheduled to come back to you in October with the preliminary report, final documents in about March to get it under construction in about May, with the intent of occupying the building for fall 2012. And with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Seeing none, I recognize a motion for approval.
Move approval.
Been moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Next item is to approve the preliminary report for project ES 53 Oak Ridge Elementary School.
And Mr. Chairman, this is our second design report for your consideration today. HSE Architects is the architect of record. Again, it is a project that is below the cost estimate, and Dan Skaggs is here to make the presentation.
Good afternoon. I'm happy to be here to present our preliminary report for Oak Ridge Elementary School. It's 248 student capacity school. It will remain that according to the design program. We'll be adding about 16,000 square foot of new school that replaces temporary classrooms, annexes that they have currently. Similar to a lot of the elementary renovation addition projects that I know you've seen, similar issues. We will be replacing all the windows, all the doors, full renovation of the existing school, which is a little over 16,000 square feet. And then, as I said, the building addition. One thing that's unique to this project, and you may remember from our schematic report, half the site is in a floodplain, which also happens to be the half the site that the existing building is in. But we don't have any issues per se with the existing building, but it did dictate that we needed to build to the west of the existing building to stay out of that floodplain, and also dictated some floor elevations. But having said all that, it does work well with the existing parking lot, which is, as you can see on the site plan, to the north of the existing school. So when we build to the west, it is kind of a natural thing to have the new entry to the school between the existing and new addition in a central location. So we went with that and planned for the red portion as the administration addition. So we planned for that to police that new central entry. And it just seems to work well. In talking with the principal, she plans on breaking the school up with lower grades in the existing building, upper grades in the addition, which works well due to existing plumbing and some classrooms for kindergarten, pre-K classrooms. So even with all the challenges we had with the site, I think it's working out well in the design. We're adding classrooms, adding administration, adding media center, really kind of doubling the size of the school, but that just shows how much square footage they had in annexed temporary classrooms for all these years. Schedule-wise, here we are in July. We have been proceeding with the assumption that we weren't too far off base, so anticipating approval. So we've been proceeding with CDs or construction documents, trying to stick to the schedule to go to bid in October, November, so that construction could begin the end of this year, early next year. So it could be built from, well, let's say 2011. During that calendar year, we could construct this project. Budget-wise, we're right at the budget, $3.1 million. We don't really see that we're under or over. We have had to do a couple of alternates based on needs that the school has. These are outside of the strict requirements from the program, but are needs that I'm sure we'd all like to see done. One of the needs is for some kitchen equipment, refrigerator, freezer, oven, that type of equipment. We're doing within the base bid a new serving line, as is typical at most schools. But there are other equipment needs that they would like to see done, so we've approached that with an alternate. And a boiler room with abandoned equipment that if we could clean it out, of course asbestos is the issue there, so we've addressed that as an alternate as well. But if we could clean that space out, they could certainly use that as a storage room, and it's much needed. But again, we left that as alternate. We do meet program requirements right now in base bid within the budget. Here's a couple perspectives showing where we are in the design. Both of these are front views. The butterfly shape or book shape is the media center background. You can see the entry plaza. You can kind of see the steps on the lower rendering especially. Convey how high we have to go with the finished floor. The existing building finished floor is at the bottom paving in the foreground of that bottom rendering. So you can see the elevation change we had to do to get above floodplain elevations. But I think we've done it gracefully. We have handicap access as well, so that will not be an issue. It did dictate several ramps within the building plan, so there were just some challenges there. A couple more views of the renovated school. In the foreground on the top rendering is the existing building with the addition in the back, and then that relationship's flipped in the bottom rendering. You can see the classroom addition portion of the new building in the foreground. We've gone through some interior design discussions, and we're still developing that. But in talking with principal and staff, there were a couple of key maybe unique aspects that they wanted us to pursue. And one of those was wayfinding, if we had a chance or opportunity to do some graphics to help with directing visitors to the right place. They wanted to see that done, so we're kind of developing that in our interior scheme. And floor pattern also, I think you can kind of see the dotted lines in the floor pattern portion there about middle of the screen. They kind of wanted that, and I thought it was a unique idea to kind of cue up the kids when you're taking a class to and from a particular location in the school. Answer any questions?
Are there any questions? Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
I'd recognize a motion to approve this report.
Move approval.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Next items, being asked to approve the final plan and specifications for Project ES-49 Buchanan Elementary School and authorize the Secretary to advertise for bids to be received August 24th, 2010.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the first of two final plans for your review today. We do have Sean Willis here from Stacy to make this presentation and answer your questions.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I'm proud to present the final design for Buchanan Elementary addition and renovation. The school, as many others, is a pre-K through 6th grade facility for 462 students. It does require a remodel of the existing school and a small addition to accommodate those students. The existing site plans, you can see, they do have quite a bit of space at this school. We did want to do our best to keep the addition as compact as possible to continue the use of that playground space that they have. A few other points to note are the main entrance is on the bottom of the sheet off of Utah, and this is in the middle of a tight neighborhood. But the parking lot is on the other side of the school and a small drop-off on the front. The existing school will be remodeled according to the program, full interior renovation and exterior renovation to bring the building up to code, replacing windows, roofing, and interior finishes as well. The addition, we did our best to design a seamless addition so that it appears that this school was designed at one time. We definitely didn't want to apply an addition that looked out of place. On the proposed site plan, and you can see in the floor plan later, we moved the main entrance to the school from the bottom to the top to be off of the parking lot, so visitors and parents would be adjacent to the entrance of the school and didn't have to walk around the building when the school was locked during the day. It also gives the administration a better visibility for who is coming and going in the school during the day. We have, as an alternate, extended the drop-off lane to get a few more parents and buses off of the street. Again, it is a tight neighborhood, and we have minimized the old main entrance by removing the main drop-off under a low-hanging canopy and just created a small curb cut. The site plan on the red on the top is the new administration. It was at the bottom of the page. Again, that will be pre-K and K on the bottom with grade levels separated as best we could for the upper grades and lower grades to separate the age groups. We have remodeled the kitchen to accommodate the new cafeteria, which is a remodeled multi-purpose room, and again moved the administration to the top with a new canopy and a small addition off to the side. A few points on the entrance to note. Again, secure vestibule, so a low-tech way to keep the kids safe, and also the reception area and offices do have a view out to the street and to the parking lot, so they can keep an eye on who is coming and going in the school during the day. The addition has a media center, computer lab, music, art, and 6th grade. Again, a compact design. It does allow that this area can be locked off at night, not only for events in the media center, but when the future gym does happen, they can have events in both of those without having to worry about security of the existing school. Again, we have moved the entrance to the school with a new secure vestibule and a canopy that signifies entry to the school, separated the public spaces at night, and distributed the grade levels. This is the new main entrance. We tried to tie in, again, the existing architecture to the addition with a extended canopy out towards the street to signify entry for the students and visitors. This is the addition, the small addition. As you can see, we've again carried the same roof line, architecture, brick, and fascia through that addition as well. In meeting with the principal and staff, they chose to stay with their main school colors, the blue and yellow, and we've continued those as a majority of the colors in the school with accents to complement those as well. This is the floor pattern plan. Again, trying to brighten up the floors, and as was mentioned before, they wanted to include the lines in the floor so they could cue the kids up and lead them down the hall in single file line. We are under budget on our estimate. Just want to point out there are two main items among many that we've added that are in addition to the original scope. One is roof repair and fire suppression for the existing school. The existing school did not meet code, and in order to do our addition the most cost effectively, the fire suppression system is required. We do have two alternates. Hopefully the bid climate will allow them. One is to expand that drop-off lane to help student safety, and another is to replace all the millwork in the school. But with the additional base bid items included, we still feel that we are right at or under our given budget. Again, we are submitting our final plans. They will be bid at the end of August, and if all goes well, starting construction in September and ending construction in about 14 to 16 months. And with that, any questions?
Valerie?
I do have a question. Maybe I missed it, but you just said the drop-off lane was an alternate, but I thought in the first set of slides we were moving the drop-off lane. Did I miss something?
There are two drop-off lanes. One is at the old main entrance. That goes under a low canopy. It is a drop-off lane, but it's not really used. It's a drop-off lane. It's kind of used for parking. We are removing that. There's another longer drop-off lane on the side that we're going to hope to expand as part of that alternate.
So I guess my question is, would that be an issue? Did staff say there is an issue with child safety, or is it the one drop-off lane is sufficient? That's what I'm trying to say.
The one drop-off lane is sufficient. What they have now is sufficient. We are doing our best to get even more cars off the street. The site, the limitations on the site are such that we could never get enough drop-off lanes off of the street. It's the building is pushed against pretty close to the curbs on all three sides, and there's a neighborhood on the north. So we're expanding the drop-off lanes as much as we possibly can. We'd love to do more and even get a third drop-off to get buses way off of the property, but it's just not feasible with the way the site is situated.
But we are correct that the main drop-off is going to be by the parking lot now.
Yes.
Where the main door is, and then the alternate is on the side. The
way that they queue now, they only have a few buses, and the buses in the daycare, the small buses use that drop-off lane on the side. They get off of the street. The parents ring the L-shaped street, and they ring the entire street when it's time to pick up and drop off. So it's not ideal. You'd love to get them separated completely, but it does facilitate more of those daycare buses to get off of the street, so there's less kind of commingling between parents and buses.
Other questions? Seeing none, I'd recognize a motion that we approve the final plan and the specifications and authorize the secretary to advertise for bids.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Next item is to recommend Independent School District Number 89 of Oklahoma County approve the final plan and specifications for Project EB20, Johnson Elementary School, and authorize the secretary to advertise for bids to be received August 31, 2010.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is our last presentation for this afternoon. It's our second final designs plans for your consideration as well. This is a bond project. We do have Terry Parker here from Architecture Incorporated to make the presentation for you today.
Thank you for having me today, ladies and gentlemen. This is the final presentation for the Johnson Elementary School project. The original scope and the additional items found at the site have not changed from the very beginning, so I'm not going to go through those. There were a couple of things that have changed as a result of input from staff and the budget, and I'll hit those highlight those as we go through the presentation. Basically, the site plan, the majority of the work on the site is parking lot number 3 on the southeast corner. That parking lot is in very poor repair. It will be removed and totally replaced. That parking lot leads into the main entry to the school, which is one of the areas of major renovation in the building. The other site issues are some ADA ramp issues that will be addressed, and they are hit and miss scattered throughout the site. The temporary building is the light yellow building shown there in kind of the center of the U. That building is scheduled to be removed at the end of the project. It will be used for staging classrooms as the project is constructed. This is the floor plan. I mentioned two changes from the original program. One of them is, if you look to the lower left of the plan, you will see a new canopy and an existing canopy that leads out of the building. We were originally scheduled to tear that existing canopy to the farthest west down as part of our project. At our last staff meeting, the staff got rather agitated that we were taking away one of their 2 canopies. So we opted, by direction of the Oklahoma City Maps project manager, to leave that second canopy. It will be painted to match the building, and then will be further assessed as the project, after the project is inhabited. The other major change is the new administration area, which is kind of to the center of the right part of the plan. Currently, it's a very small administration area. It has 2 small rooms. The teacher, or the principal, offices in a classroom and has that combined with her conference room. We are going to take in that same space and then renovate that area to meet current district requirements. This is an enlarged plan of that area. The other thing that we're being able to do is create a controlled entry into the school. Right now, you can enter the school from any number of points and just walk right in. The people in the office can't even see people when they enter the building. This new entry will direct people through the administration area, through the receptionist, before they can enter into the building. Colors were selected some time back. There was a committee that put together by the principal with some of her staff members. They came up with 2 color schemes. This is the scheme for the administration area with carpet, paint, and some VCT. These are the colors that they selected for the classroom areas and the media center. Pretty muted colors. They wanted them that way. They do have a lot of special needs kids at this school, and they wanted to keep the colors a little bit softer than what some of the other elementaries might be. We created some tile patterns throughout the building. This is one in the cafeteria that will give the floor some interest. A typical corridor. This building also has 6 different levels that are connected by interior ramps. And those ramps, we were putting non-slip tile on them and bordering them with the dark tile. As you can see, there are 3 ramps shown in this slide. That visually defines those ramps and calls them people's attention as you're going down the corridors. This is a view of what the new entry will look like. Again, right now, the building basically does not have a defined entry. You pull up to the building, you can't really tell where you're supposed to go in. So this gives it a prominent design, defined entry with a new sign and flagpoles. This is along with that parking lot that is being replaced. Typical elevations. This is kind of an enlarged area along the south side. The canopy to the right is a new canopy. The pair of doors to the left is where the existing canopy was supposed to be removed, but it will now remain. Typical elevations of the other sides of the building. This will, as a view of the interior as you come into the entry, you now have the vestibule to your right there that forces you through the administration area before you can enter the building. Down a typical corridor, again, you can see the dark areas define the ramps. We also are dropping some hard ceiling on those areas to, again, visually help define that, the difference in elevation. The second change is the budget and the time frame for the project. This project has been slightly over budget the entire process. It is creeping up on us. Once we got into final design, we saw that there are some issues that are going to cost more than we thought because of the way the building is constructed. So the budget has now gone up to $1.994 million. We've established 3 alternates that are in addition to that base bid construction estimate. Remove and replace all the ceiling tiles in the building would be $93,000. To replace all the existing millwork would be an additional $270,000. And new horizontal blinds for all the new exterior windows would be an additional $35,700. The time frame has also extended. We are working around trying to get that office remodeled. It has to be done over a summer. That we're trying to sandwich the classroom addition construction on either side of that, it has pushed the time frame out just a little bit. But currently, we're looking at bidding the project the end of August, construction beginning in September, mid-September, probably 2010, and the completion would be around mid-December 2011. Questions? Comments?
Any questions? Thank you. I would recognize a motion to approve the final plan and specifications and to authorize the secretary to advertise for bids.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Next items, to approve the architectural services contract with GSB Inc. for project ES 66 Capitol Hill Elementary School, fee of $519,000, and assign Burgess Engineering and Testing Inc. and GMR and Associates as testing laboratories.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is one of 8 architectural contracts that's in your agenda this afternoon. Each of the architects that has been selected and we've successfully negotiated a contract is a repeat architect for Maps for Kids. I'll just leave this for you to ask any questions that you may have on any of the individual items.
Questions? Recognize a motion to approve this contract. Okay. We will wait just a second for the motion, and we will go ahead and go through all of them.
Again, with them all being repeat architects, I don't know that I have anything else to offer. This is standard contracts that we've used throughout the Maps for Kids process. These are the final 8 contracts, just except for the downtown elementary that we'll bring back at a future date.
So I'd recognize a motion to approve all 8 contracts.
So moved.
Been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Next, we have some change orders. First is to approve change order number 2 for project ES 21, Britain Elementary School, increased $15,699.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Britain is about 40% complete with the construction phase. There's 2 items. The largest is item number 1, some plumbing modifications that were required in the kitchen. This change included with the change order number 1 is still less than 1% of the total construction cost. It also includes 5 days of extra time, and we're recommending approval.
Questions? Is there a motion to approve the change order?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Next item is to approve change order number 3 for project ES 18, Cesar Chavez Elementary School, decrease of $2,938.91.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cesar Chavez is about 60% complete. There's 23 items on this change order, and as Chairman mentioned, there is a net credit to the project. With this credit, it is about a 3.1% change overall. One of the larger items on here, at least in regard to the change order itself, is it does include 69 weather days. This was one of the projects that was significantly affected by weather. This would be the first extension of time. This would include all the work that was also included in change orders 1 and also number 2. You'll notice through the various items, some of them are very significant. Some are additions and some are deletions of work. There's been some oversight by the architectural office that we have seen on previous change orders, and our goal from that point forward has been that they come back to us with net 0 change orders, and so they are following suit. Again, can answer any questions that you might have regarding this item.
Any questions? Seeing none, I'd recognize a motion to approve this change order.
Move approval.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Next item is to approve change order number 1 for project ES 33, Fillmore Elementary School, increase of $24,791.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This project is about 30% complete with the construction phase. There's 7 items for your consideration today. The largest is item number 5, kitchen remodel revisions for about $13,000, which is the lion's share of the change order. There's 10 days also included as part of the increase, and we're recommending approval.
Questions? Is there a motion to approve this change order?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Next item. Approve change order number 6 for project ES 30, Kaiser Elementary School, increase of $39,882.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kaiser is about 90% complete. It's one of the schools that we intend to open this fall. 12 items on this change order. There's also 5 additional days. The 2 most significant are items numbers 1 and 2, which is some ductwork modifications and also a wall modification that was a part of the renovation of the school. With this change, it'll be about 6.7% increase, and we're recommending approval.
Questions? Seeing none, I recognize a motion to approve this change order.
Move approval.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Next item, approve change order number 4 for project ES-22, North Highland Elementary School, increase of $18,732.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. North Highland is also 90% complete. Another one of the schools that's anticipated to be open and finished this fall. 5 items, 1.63% will be the total adds to the project, including this change order. The most significant are items 2 and 3, some tack boards that require replacement, then also a demolition of some heating and cooling systems and a concrete slab as a part of that renovation. We're recommending approval.
Questions? Is there a motion to approve the change order?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Next item, approve change order number 1 for project ES-77, Southeast Elementary School, $76,560.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is our final change order for the afternoon, 20% complete on the project. To date, 14 items, combined 1.14% on the total change. Call your attention to a couple of items that are most significant. Number 6, some auditorium modifications that were some deteriorated walls requiring replacement. Item number 8, which is a canvas ductwork wrap that was in the gymnasium. What was included in the gymnasium was painting of some existing galvanized steel, which the painter declared that it would probably not stick to that material very long. So it was replaced with a canvas duct wrap, which is a paintable wrap that will provide long-term service and serviceability for that gymnasium. Last item is number 12, asbestos pipe installation, also about $14,000. Recommending approval.
Questions? Recognize the motion to approve this change order.
So moved.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Cast your vote. Mr. Couch, would you like to give us an update on the status?
Mr. Chairman, presently under construction are 23 schools. 8 of those are scheduled to be completed in August through September. We've got 28 schools under design. All architectural contracts now, with the exception of the downtown elementary school, are in place. 8 of these will be scheduled to bid in the August to October timeframe. Detailed design construction status of each project included in ADG's monthly report is included in this agenda. Several projects in construction have been delayed due to recent weather events. Staff is working closely with the district to ensure alternate arrangements are made to ensure successful and safe school openings. The 2007 bond issue of I-89 that we're managing, or will be managing, the draft management documents have been developed and are under final review. The educational specifications will have to do a modification to reflect sizes and finishes for the new kindergarten classrooms and for the gymnasiums. Design standards will amend those slightly to include construction details and specifications for the new gymnasiums and also the stadium renovations that are part of that bond issue. And then the project management plan identifies the project's priorities and the budgets of the nearly $109 million of work to be managed by the school trust over the next 5 years. Approval of documents are anticipated by the board and trust and council to be approved in August and September, and advertisement for architects will proceed immediately following that approval. Our next meeting will be 2 weeks from today on August 3rd.
Any questions for Mr. Couch? You also have your program consultant report in your package, which includes not only the monthly report from ADG, but also the local business utilization report. If you'd like to review those at your leisure. Are there any comments by trustees, staff, citizens? Thank you for your attention. We're adjourned.